Everybody says they want freedom, but what they really mean is money without the leash. The modern octopus mind dreams of wealth, while each tentacle is busy tapping alerts, dodging discomfort, and reaching for easier dopamine. So this is not a sermon about hustle. It is a tour of how people get rich without working in the usual way, and why that fantasy grips us so hard. Follow the tentacles closely. They always reveal where desire is hiding. And here are 15 ways the octopus mind gets rich without grinding. Number 1. Born inside a rich reef. Some octopuses are born in quiet water, where every current already carries food. They do not begin life fighting the tide. They begin life inside a reef of protection, contacts, confidence, and second chances. Wealth at birth is not just money in a vault. It is fewer closed doors, softer landings, better introductions, and mistakes that cost less. That is why self-made so often arrives wearing family oxygen. Before we talk about luck, skill, or strategy, we have to admit this. Some tentacles start closer to the treasure. Number 2. Drifting into the right reef through marriage. Not every octopus enters wealth through bloodline. Some drift into a richer reef by attachment. Marriage, at its coldest economic reading, can function like a change of water pressure. Different rooms, different protections, different assets now shaping your future. Romance may be the surface story, but access is often the deeper tide. Sometimes you do not build the vault. You marry the current that already knows the way to it. Number 3. When wealth travels through bloodlines. Inheritance is where the conversation stops being cute and starts becoming structural. Some octopuses do not rise because they hunted better. They wake up inside a reef already packed with stored value. Property deeds, old gold, family businesses, forgotten collections, land that became expensive while somebody else was busy being born into it. That is the part people soften with sentimental language, as if wealth only moves through genius or discipline. Often it moves through blood, paper, and timing. One generation spends decades compressing effort into assets, and the next generation receives those assets as atmosphere. No miracle, no motivational poster. Just transfer. The modern octopus mind hates this truth because it exposes how unequal the starting water really is. Some inherit money, others inherit calm, access, and the right to make mistakes without drowning. Number 4. Own a phrase. Own a revenue stream. A rich octopus does not always inherit a vault. Sometimes it owns a sound. In the modern attention ocean, a sharp phrase can cling to the mind like ink in clear water. Once protected, that line stops being decoration and starts behaving like property. It travels across products, screens, ads, and culture while the owner keeps collecting from every repetition. That is the strange power of invisible assets. One sentence, born in a moment, can grow tentacles and keep earning long after the mouth that said it has gone quiet. Number 5. When power leaks money through legal collisions. Sometimes money does not arrive through brilliance or inheritance. It arrives through collision. In a crowded ocean, a powerful creature leaves a wake, and when that wake injures a smaller life, law can turn damage into transfer. That is the cold logic behind settlements. A rich system often pays not because it is generous, but because time, reputation, and public scrutiny cost even more. The payout is rarely noble. It is usually the price of making a problem quieter than a trial would. The octopus mind finds this unsettling because it reveals another hidden current of wealth liability. One careless act, one ignored warning, one attempt to brush off harm, and suddenly money starts flowing sideways. Not upward through merit, not forward through work, but across from someone else's legal risk. In this sea, even power can leak. Number 6. The current of luck and the big hit. Luck is the most seductive current in the ocean because it whispers the same lie to every restless octopus. Maybe you will be the one exception. Lottery tickets, casino chips, prediction bets. They all sell a fantasy with perfect timing. You do almost nothing, the universe blinks, and suddenly the tide turns in your favor. And yes, it happens. That is why the fantasy survives. But pure luck is not a system. It is a lightning strike dressed up as a plan. The modern octopus mind loves it because it offers relief without discipline, reward without patience, and hope without structure. That is also why it empties so many pockets. A current this random can make someone rich, but it cannot be trusted to carry a life. Number 7. Beauty as a form of social credit. Beauty is one of the oldest cheats in the social ocean. A striking octopus does not need to speak first. The water often bends toward it before character, skill, or effort are even visible. That is the halo effect in plain clothes. People assign value, trust, softness, and opportunity to a pleasing surface. Gifts appear, doors open, mistakes are forgiven faster. Not because beauty is virtue, but because attention is biased. In a world ruled by quick impressions, appearance can function like unearned credit before the real score is read. Number 8. Turning laughter into an asset. Humor is a strange kind of wealth because it lets one octopus enter rooms that discipline alone cannot unlock. In a tense ocean, the one who can make the water feel lighter becomes memorable, trusted, invited back. Jokes are not just entertainment. They disarm status, soften distance, and turn attention into currency. In the streaming age, a sharp laugh can travel farther than a resume. Some people do not climb the office ladder. They make the room exhale, and the room pays them for it. Number 9. When a wave of attention turns into money. Virality is the newest reef where an ordinary octopus can wake up famous by lunchtime. One clip, one strange sentence, one perfectly timed accident, and attention rushes in like a feeding frenzy. Brands do not care that the rise was chaotic. They care that millions of eyes arrived at once. In the attention economy, a moment of public fascination can harden into real money almost overnight. But viral fame is unstable water. It can turn a nobody into a paid signal, then disappear just as fast, leaving only the question of who learned to monetize the wave before it collapsed. Number 10. Solve a problem once, get paid for years. Real passive wealth becomes less magical when an octopus solves a problem once and then owns the solution. In a chaotic ocean, most creatures keep trading time for survival, but the inventor builds a tool, a method, or a small fix that keeps working after the original effort is over. A patent matters because it turns usefulness into territory. Now any company that wants to swim through that same channel may have to pay to pass. This is not luck, and it is not inheritance. It is delayed leverage. One smart act, protected well, stretching its tentacles into years of royalties. The work happens once. The ownership keeps breathing after the hands go still. Number 11. Value sleeping on the ocean floor. Treasure still seduces the octopus mind because it feels like wealth with no biography attached. No resume, no decade of grinding, just one lucky encounter with something buried, forgotten, misfiled, or abandoned by time. A rusted box, a lost painting, a strip of land hiding value under dust. Suddenly, the ocean spits back what history misplaced. That is why the idea never dies. It turns money into myth. But even here, the deeper lesson is not fantasy. It is that value can sleep unnoticed for years until one pair of eyes recognizes it. Sometimes fortune is not created in front of you. It has been lying silent all along, waiting for someone alert enough to see it.
Number 12. Holding the right ground until money arrives.
Land is one of the rare ways an octopus can get richer by staying still while the water around it changes. You do not earn here by moving faster. You earn because roads arrive, cities stretch, investors circle, and somebody with bigger plans suddenly needs the patch of seabed you are sitting on. That is why location behaves like stored future. The value is not always in the dirt itself, but in the pressure building around it. A quiet field becomes a corridor. A forgotten edge becomes access. In this ocean, the smart play is not always hunting harder. Sometimes it is holding the right ground until the current starts paying rent.
Number 13. Forgotten wealth in the digital age.
Digital wealth has created a very modern kind of treasure story. An octopus leaves one tentacle wrapped around an old wallet, forgets it, and years later discovers it was gripping a current that turned into a fortune. A few coins mined too early, a token sent as a joke, an airdrop ignored because life was louder at the time. None of it looked important when it arrived. That is what makes this form of wealth so unnerving. It is not built through visible labor, but through timing, neglect, and the market's strange talent for inflating forgotten things. In the modern ocean, even neglect can accidentally become ownership, and ownership can wake up rich.
Number 14. Letting assets work instead of your tentacles.
Of all the currents in this ocean, this one is the least theatrical and the most important. An octopus owns something that keeps feeding it, whether it swims that day or not. Interest and dividends are what happen when money stops behaving like stored effort and starts behaving like a worker you do not have to supervise. No spotlight, no viral moment, no lucky ticket. Just ownership sending small pulses of cash back to the holder again and again. This is why the modern octopus mind struggles with it. The reward is quiet, delayed, and almost boring at first. But boring currents can become life-changing when they flow long enough. At some point, the tentacles no longer chase income. The assets bring the tide home.
Number 15. Do it once, get paid again and again.
Residual income is what happens when one performance keeps swimming long after the performer has gone home. An octopus shows up once on camera, delivers a few lines, maybe does not even look important that day, and yet the content keeps replaying through reruns, clips, platforms, and syndication. Every replay sends another small tide of money back to the same original moment. That is the elegance here. The labor is temporary, but the system of distribution keeps extracting value from the same scene again and again. In an era addicted to constant output, residuals reveal a rarer form of leverage work. Once, then let the current remember you. Here is the part the modern octopus mind resists most. Wealth does not always reward effort in a straight line. Sometimes the hardest working creature in the water is still far from the feast, while another arrives later, says less, builds nothing with its own tentacles, and still leaves fed. That sounds unfair, because it is. But ignoring it does not make it less real. Across all these examples, the pattern is the same. Money often moves through ownership, access, proximity, timing, and position long before it moves through labor. The real advantage is not always in producing the value. Very often, it is in being close enough to the channel where value is being transferred, protected, multiplied, or distributed. This is why some octopuses keep swimming themselves to exhaustion, while others learn the map of the currents. One keeps chasing food molecule by molecule. The other finds the pipeline that carries food at scale. That is the deeper lesson here. If you only train yourself to work harder, you may become a stronger animal inside the same small corner of the ocean. But if you learn where the powerful currents gather, who controls the gates, what assets keep paying, and which rooms quietly shape outcomes, you stop thinking like a worker trapped in reaction and start thinking like a creature that understands flow. In the end, the fastest path is not always more motion. Sometimes it is one intelligent move into the right current before the feeding starts.